What's going on, YouTube? This is Unger to the Max here. A salute to you. Hadn't done that in a while, so I wanted to bring it back. And before I get into today's video, let me just give a big hello to all the new subscribers out there who have joined in on the channel. Welcome aboard. Hopefully you've been enjoying the videos. Clearly, if you've subscribed, which if you haven't yet subscribed and you're watching that video, press that red subscribe button. We're getting close to 300 subscribers. When I started this channel, I didn't even think I would sniff 100 subscribers. And now I'm on the verge of getting to 300 subscribers. That's just mind-blowing. So, as you've probably seen, I would consider my channel to be a bit of a variety sports channel, with the primary focuses being the UFC, NFL content, with the focus there being the Cleveland Browns, a little bit of Major League Baseball, college football with the primary emphasis being the Florida Gators, Clemson Tigers, and Penn State Nittany Lions, and NHL hockey with the primary focus there being the Columbus Blue Jackets, and we have the NBA with the Cavaliers being the main team there. However, for this video, we're going to focus in on a segment I like to call Talking UFC and WWE. And within that, we're talking WWE, because I'm just confused about something. Okay, so although I didn't watch the actual match itself, I heard about what happened. So, at Extreme Rules, Sasha Banks challenged Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. And it ended very bizarrely because Asuka tried to use her patented, or I shouldn't say patented, that's not the right word, her famous green mist to blind Sasha Banks. But Banks got out of the way, and it ended up blinding the referee. And then all hell broke loose as Bayley decided she was going to be the referee by simply taking off the referee shirt of the actual referee and putting it on herself. And she did the three count of 1, 2, 3. And said, "Oh, Sasha Banks is the Raw Women's Champion, yay!" But Stephanie McMahon came on the following Monday and said, "No, Sasha, you are not the Raw Women's Champion." But she then turned to Asuka and said, "You didn't win either." So the next week it was Sasha Banks versus Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. But it was any type of count out or assist from Bayley or Kairi Sane would mean that Asuka or Sasha Banks would lose. So, and it was a good match. A lot of moments where I thought, oh, Asuka's about to lock in the Asuka lock, or Sasha Banks is about to hit the meteor and turn it into the Banks statement. But what ultimately led to the finish was, I think Kairi Sane was going to go down to the ring and assist and try and help Asuka retain the championship. But Bayley, the current Smackdown Women's Champion, interfered and essentially just threw threw Kairi Sane against a steel wall. Almost looked like a garage door. I'd have to go back and watch the match for sure, though. And so Kairi was calling out for Asuka, meaning Asuka was in a bind. Do I keep going with the match and try and retain my championship, or do I go and help my friend? Ultimately, she chose to go and help her friend, and thus the count out occurred, and so Sasha Banks is your new Raw Women's Champion. But now, this confuses me, because I thought the storyline that the WWE is trying to do is an eventual feud between Bayley and Sasha Banks where they have a match at SummerSlam for a championship. Now, I wouldn't mind if it's for the Raw Women's Championship, but for some reason, it just feels like all of a sudden WWE is veering away from that story. And I don't get it. Now, part of it could be that SummerSlam was supposed to be in Boston, Sasha Banks' hometown, at the TD Garden where the Boston Celtics play and the Boston Bruins. Ugh, I need to wash out my mouth with soap after saying that team's name. God, I hate them. So, you know, and that's how it would be under normal conditions. But a lot of stuff would be different if there were normal conditions. But we don't have normal conditions, do we? No, because we have this stupid coronavirus pandemic going on. Yay! Ugh. Pisses me off. Gosh, I just felt like Walter from Jeff Dunham there. He's my favorite comedian, by the way. Oh, I remember what I was saying. So, Nikki Cross is supposed to face Bayley on Friday Night Smackdown for the Smackdown Women's Championship. So, what's going to happen with that? Is WWE going to put the championship on Nikki Cross and somehow set up a feud between Bayley and Banks that way for the Raw Women's Championship, where somehow Sasha Banks costs Bayley the SmackDown Women's Championship? And if they do put the SmackDown Women's Championship on Nikki Cross, do they turn Alexa Bliss heel and, you know, have the two of them feud and lead to a match at SummerSlam? Now, I don't have WWE Network, so I don't watch the pay-per-views. I go back and watch highlights, but I just don't watch the pay-per-views. It's just not worth it for me. Now, I will watch UFC pay-per-views, but I don't watch every UFC pay-per-view. For example, I watched UFC 252, or excuse me, UFC 251, because it was a pay-per-view from Fight Island. So I was very interested in that. And there were 3 title matches, might I add. And they were all pretty good. But of course, I'm not going to skip UFC 252. I mean, come on. It's Stipe Miocic, my hometown hero. He's from Cleveland. Fights out of Strong Style in Independence. And he's completing his trilogy against Daniel Cormier in the main event of UFC 252 from the UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada on August 15th, I believe it is. So that's in 2 weeks, with the pay-per-view starting at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN+. Don't miss it. You have to watch. It's a trilogy. How often do you get trilogies? Now, I wonder where this fight would have taken place under normal conditions. I was trying, my best on my YouTube channel to try and advocate that the trilogy fight between Cormier and Miocic needs to be here in Cleveland. But, the UFC didn't listen. And we had, like I said before, this stupid coronavirus pandemic come in and just flip the world upside down. What the hell are you going to do? So, yeah. So, this whole thing is interesting. Like, is WWE still going through with the Bayley-Sasha Banks feud and just changing it to be for the Raw Women's Championship? Is it going to be a case where it's a winner-take-all match? Is it going to be that it's that what sets off the feud is that they lose their tag team championships. And if WWE does put the title on Nikki Cross, meaning Bayley loses, do they turn Alexa Bliss heel and start a feud between babyface Nikki Cross and a heel Alexa Bliss where they meet for the Smackdown Women's Championship at SummerSlam and ultimately just use Nikki Cross as a placeholder? Like, what happens with that? I would love to see Alexa Bliss win a title again. So, and one last thought before I end this video. AJ Styles as the Intercontinental Champion has been fantastic. And on Friday, he's defending his title against Grand Metalik of Lucha House Party. And that should be a pretty good match. But I just have a crazy thought. Okay? Just a crazy thought. What would happen if somehow AJ Styles loses the title, okay? And in some crazy way, I don't know how this would work, but what would happen if somehow Shayna Baszler ended up as Intercontinental Champion? I think that would be pretty interesting, to put a title that is usually only for the men of the WWE on and give it to the women. And let's see what happens with that. Because with the women, you only have the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship. I know there are the Women's Tag Team Championships, but WWE's kind of thrown those to the wayside. Whereas on the men's side of WWE, you have the Universal Championship, which I think Braun Strowman is going to drop to the Fiend Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam. You have the WWE Championship, which I'm not sure what WWE is going to do with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton at SummerSlam. I could see them putting the title on Randy Orton and setting up some type of eventual story that builds all the way to WrestleMania 37. I could see that. You have the United States Championship, which I think Apollo Crews is still the champion. A little bit confused about what the storyline is there, because MVP claims he's the champion, but he never actually beat Apollo Crews, who he was supposed to face at Extreme Rules. But according to WWE, Apollo is nursing a neck injury that he suffered over a month ago, thanks to a full Nelson from the almighty Bobby Lashley. But I think in real life, it's that Apollo Crews tested positive for COVID-19. So I'm a little bit confused about what the whole thing is with the United States Championship. And then you have the stupid 24/7 title. At this point, I think WWE should just do away with that thing, because nobody really cares. It's just R-Truth being silly, and, it's just a little gimmick at this point, So, I'd like to see another title be given to the women, besides the Raw Women's Championship and the SmackDown Women's Championship. So just for the heck of it, why not try putting the Intercontinental Championship on Shayna Baszler? I think it could lead to some good storylines. Like, if Shayna's the champion, maybe instead of having Asuka go after the Raw Women's Championship, you could do Shayna Baszler versus Asuka for the Intercontinental Championship, which I think was originally going to be the plan for SummerSlam, although it would have been obviously for the Raw Women's Championship. But if Shayna Baszler was Intercontinental Champion, you could have her face Asuka for the championship. You could set up a storyline with her and Nia Jax potentially. Let's see. I know Charlotte Flair's not on the roster right now due to surgery, I believe it is. But when she gets back, maybe you could do a feud there. Let's see. You could. I know Lacey Evans is on Smackdown, but maybe you put the Intercontinental Championship on Lacey Evans. Then you could do a story there with potentially Sonya Deville, which I thought they had a storyline going, or Naomi. I just think they should put the Intercontinental Championship or another men's championship like the United States title. Don't touch the Universal Championship or the WWE Championship. But put I'm suggesting that you either put the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship on one of the women of WWE and see what happens. I think it would work. And I'm a fan of WWE. I'm not afraid to admit that. Gosh, this video has been going for over 15 minutes already. So you can tell I am passionate about it and interested in it. And at times invested. Like right now I'm invested in what's happening with the whole Sasha Banks, Bayley, Nikki Cross, Alexa Bliss dynamic. That's pretty much what this whole video has been about, essentially. So, I'm just proposing that WWE should look into putting the Intercontinental Championship or the United States Championship on one of its women and see what happens. Okay? So that's going to do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, punch that subscribe button like a UFC fighter or a WWE superstar, whichever one. But, like I said, punch that subscribe button. We are almost to 300 subscribers, which is still mind-blowing to me. Psh! When I started this channel several years ago at this point, I didn't think I would sniff anywhere near 100 subscribers, let alone 300. So to know that I'm on the verge of getting to 300 subscribers is just incredible. Also, if you liked this video, press that thumbs up button so we can get more and more likes. So that's going to do it for this video. I'm Unger to the Max, signing off.